Welcome. We're so glad to see you. And I'm Mary Lee Grisanti. I'm the chair of the film department, BFA film department. And I am going to race through a presentation to you so that you get to speak to all 4 years of our undergraduates. So there'll be a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, and a thesis student up here, and you can ask every single question you have. And by the way, if nobody told you, when you open those umbrellas, inside is a blue sky with clouds. So you won't be unhappy when it gets rainy around here. Okay. Right now, there's a reel I'd like to show you. And this reel has all been made by first and second year students. You good? Okay, so that gives you a great idea of what kind of skills and equipment and mentoring you will get the first day you're here, because that's what we do. This is one of my favorite students, Mason Bang, and I'll be talking about her in a second, but I'm moving straight through. We are going to have our end of year show, our thesis show. It will be in this theater. You will premiere on this screen. Okay, it's a pretty big deal, and it's amazing when you see your film up there. And we're inviting you. We will follow up and make sure that you have access to come in if you are in the neighborhood and you feel like it. These are our people celebrating. Okay, another cool thing. I'm just going to tell you some special things that we do here, and then I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty. When you make a film in thesis year, you had the opportunity to go on this thing called SVA Premieres in LA. And your film goes with on-screen work from other departments, and you premiere in the Dolby Theater. So it's pretty amazing, and you meet lots of alums. There's a lot of celebration. So we think that's a pretty big deal. We sent a really hilarious film last year, Skunk Bite. We like comedy. And another very special thing we do is we partner with the New York Film Festival, which is one of the most prestigious film festivals in the world. And because of that, our students get all sorts of privileged access to things before they open. Usually they're premiering here, and you can see some of the films that our students saw in October. And those are our students being very happy. Okay, we get special guests all the time. Mark Ulano is an alum, but he is an Oscar-winning sound engineer or recordist, everything. That's his wife, who is Petrushka, who's his boom operator. As you can see, he won the award for Titanic, and he just got off of Killers of the Flower Moon. He's done sound on just about all of Quentin Tarantino's movies. So when he came, he had a wealth of stuff to tell us, and he loves us. Here's another one. We just hosted Nick Hui, who edited those movies, and that's also a pretty big deal. And what else are we doing? We want to bring people that you can meet, so you'll know somebody, and you'll have a feeling about, what's going on. Okay, BFA film. These are our majors, or what we call them specializations. We are adding to them because our requirement system is a little bit different from all other departments. You can pretty much specialize in what you want, and I'll show you how we do it. Okay, our department gives you more electives than any other undergraduate department at SVA. Why? Because we see that people who have a range of filmmaking skills get hired faster. They know enough to be able to step in multiple ways, and they're not sitting around waiting for somebody to hire a screenwriter. It just is the way things are, and so we encourage our students. We give you 18 elective credits. Everybody else gets like 3. So that means if you're an editor, you can study directing. If you're a writer, you can study color, all sorts of things. And we really want you to take advantage of that. And coming in the future, virtual production. This is New York. We don't have tons of space, so we're making really key partnerships with commercial studios, and our students get to go there and learn the ropes. And they're very keen on our cinematographers, by the way. All right, directing, Mason Meng. Won a lot of awards when she was here. Now she's making a huge living as a gaffer, a cinematographer, and a director. So she was here at Open House, and she basically has to work 2 days a month. Screenwriting, Megan Clary. Screenwriters can wait a long time. First of all, you need experience to write, but second of all, it's a hard road. Megan picked up production design and has been doing production design for like American Horror and stuff like that. But just recently, her thesis screenplay was bought. So, good. Cinematography, and this is another thing you should know. We have great cinematographers. It's a very careful program, and you get in the union pretty fast. We also send an enormous number, well, not an enormous number because they don't take an enormous number, it's a small school, but we send a significant number of our graduates to AFI, American Film Institute Graduate School, and that's widely acknowledged to be the best film graduate school in the country, one of in the world, and it's a good thing. Julia Ward, editor, who has just come off of Killers of the Flower Moon, working with Scorsese, Barbie, and Maestro. So, and she graduated not quite 4 years ago. So what the skills that you get here are going to be wonderful. And she's an example, by the way. The way we set up our program is that you can go as deeply as you want into a specialty like Brendan into cinematography or Julia into editing. You can take everything that we have and just really refine your skills. On the other hand, you can take a variety of things that gives you more range. Okay, let's get somebody else here. Kevin, whoops, we're right here. Kevin Fan, who's a sound mixer, and told the last group of people we had here that he only has to work 1 week a month. Sound is very in demand. And Sage Love, who's made an amazing documentary about Haiti, and now is in Africa filming. And Bennett Elliott, who is a really top-notch producer, and we're getting more producing courses and more producing interest. And what we try to do is bring people in to talk to you so that not only you learn about it, but you know people. All right, our faculty. You may have heard that our faculty is all working professionals. Rob Colodny's new film just went to the Venice Film Festival. That's a pretty big honor. And if you look all the way to the right, that's Bennett, who produced his film. Here is our website, okay? And on our website is all program information, but it really exists to promote you guys. We cover what you're doing while you're here and promote you and give you opportunities. Now, if you go to the faculty page, you can click on any of these and find out what they're doing, how they teach, what their latest work was, and it's quite impressive. Okay, and this is an example of covering someone who's making a music video and not a thesis student, he's a third-year student, and we just want your name, your word, your pictures, everything to get out there. All right, now I am going to turn this over to students and ask them anything you want. They are the best. So we will start with Beatriz Suarez, who is a freshman. Come on up. That's Beatriz up there on the left. And then we'll move on to Leo Gianfagna, who's a sophomore. The very first film that you saw was shot by him in the reel. Okay, and then Bella Rettmeyer. Oops, I moved off the thing. Sorry, I gotta go back. Oop, there we go. And I should be telling you a little bit more about them. Bella is from Brazil. She's gotten involved immediately, and she'll tell you all about it. I don't know how many films she's worked on just in her freshman year. Leo is well into cinematography. He's also a director. And as I mentioned, he shot that first movie. And Bella has her own production company, which she started the minute she got here, or maybe before, and is now developing 2 projects, a thesis film and a feature based on a short film she's already done. Okay, and now we have a senior. Come on up, a thesis student, Maura Garnett. Maura is a director. She's done a great film, which you might see if you come to the thesis show. And but she's developed a specialty in casting. And the materials that she's developed for casting are used in all our classes. And she knows more about casting than, all but a professional. I mean, she is a professional. So I am now going to introduce you to our Director of Operations, Kamil Dobrovolsky, who is an award-winning editor and director. And he will moderate here and ask some questions if you're shy to get started. But please think of whatever you want to say, and we'll bring a microphone to you. Okay? Every question is good. If it's a nitty-gritty financial aid question or something like that, we won't deal with it because financial aid and admissions does that. They'll give you better information. But everything else we can tell you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Mary Lee. Thank you for being here. Again, if there's questions, we have microphones on both sides, so please don't be shy about coming up and with a question. You guys can line up with them. So I just want to start off mentioning, since you guys are all from first year to thesis year, I'm just curious about your collaboration across different years at SVA. How much does collaboration play a role for you guys at school? Yep.
I think what happens, which is kind of like an amazing thing, freshman year, you start to figure out what you're interested in, and you start to really develop that. And by sophomore year, you have a specialty, and then you're meeting more and more people who have interest in your specialty, but then you go back to your freshman year and you remember somebody that was interested in sound, or then you remember somebody that was interested in production design. And then third years, we look for both sides. We look for the thesis, because these students are ready to go into the industry, they're work ready. And then we look to the sophomores and we look to the freshmen to get them onto this more like intermediate production that has the best of both worlds. But you learn very quickly who you want to work with, who do you work well with, whose styles do you collaborate best with. And I've been lucky enough to produce for Moira's for her thesis, and I've produced a few films for Leo. And so, you know, we really quickly develop these relationships and a style.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, most of these sets can be from 5 people to 20 to 25. They can be as big as small as you want. So knowing more people is always better. One of my favorite stories to repeat is Bia is a freshman and I'm a senior. So we met this year for the first time, and I was assistant directing a thesis film, and we were leaving for a shoot that was 5 days, and our PA dropped because she got COVID, and Bia was walking by on the street. I said, "Do you want to come on this film?" She left that night for 5 days in upstate New York, and since then I think Bia's been booked every weekend on a shoot. So it happens immediately, just making those connections and meeting new people.
Great.
I also like, it's really funny that you meet people and that, yeah, they become your friends, but most importantly, they become people that you know you can count on to be on your own films, but also because it's so much fun to be on sets. I love it, and I didn't know, I think that's the most important part about SVA, especially your freshman year. I knew nothing about film when I got here. I knew I wanted to be in film, and I knew I wanted to write, but actually I had never been on a set. I had no idea what roles went into a set. I had no idea what the pre-production looked like. And by being on sets and by being like, yes, I'll do anything, I want to learn, you really get to learn, like inside the class and outside of the class. You just gotta like put yourself out there and have fun while doing it. And I think like you'll learn awesome stuff. Like I know so much more that I didn't know a year ago. It's like really great to look back and be like, oh, that's awesome. I learned so much.
Great. Are there any questions? Oh.
Testing? Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. So my name is Nisha Chowdhury, and I'm the Assistant Director for Graduate Admissions. So I will be taking questions on this side. Ambiance over there has the mic over there. So we'll just field it back and forth, and they will answer it. So any questions on this side?
Don't be shy, guys. Here we go. A question from the audience.
Hi, everyone. Can you tell us a little bit about how testing comes into place, how big class sizes are, and like what availability of different types of minors are that are not necessarily directed into actual film? Like, are there other areas of interest that you can get into and learn about as well?
I might answer that question for you. We do not use testing. It's not a thing with us particularly. And we are really interested in what you're interested in and how you communicate that interest. So if you all know, because you've applied and you've been accepted, that we want to be the right school for you. And the best education is the one that's most right for that individual. Now, our particular system of having more electives allows you to minor widely. We don't do it like that. You know, we decided, instead of saying, you know, editors have to take this and that, there are a few things that we require. But, you know, some directors are really interested in editing, but not all should have to take editing. Some editors are really interested in production, but not all should have to take it. So as you're going along, as Beatrice says, you find out more about your career path, and you choose the things that you feel will help you. And you meet the people who are going along with you. I don't know if that answers your question.
I'm taking a painting class. So it's...
I've taken pottery. I haven't even studied it. The pottery studio's open, and I go in sometimes and I'll make pottery. And class sizes, by the way, not super big. Speaking on collaboration and class sizes, there are production classes, which you sort of will take with everyone in different like specializations. So that's how you meet different people. Like if I want someone who's in my grade to be my DP or something, you meet them in there, and that's a little bigger, ranging maybe 15 students at most. And then
Capped at 16.
yeah, and then I like if I'm in directing, my class will have like 6 to 8 people in it, and it'll be really close, and my teachers will work really close with me. So it depends on the course.
I think when I got here, that was one of the things that I wanted to know more about, the class size, because back in Brazil, our high school classes are like 50 people per class. And I needed that individually, like I needed the professor to know my name. And I think that the thing that the production class at max of 15, that's really important, because in that classes, we're actually touching equipment. We're bringing cameras in, we're bringing lights in, we're bringing actors in, and it's really important like have enough people to make something, but not that much that everyone gets a chance to touch equipment and actually learn the equipment, not like watch as 20 students do it before you.
It's totally hands-on.
Does anyone on this side have any questions?
Over there.
They're back there.
Hello. Regarding the actual production of the films, how's the process getting actors, and are there any budgets provided or anything like that, or is everything out of pocket?
I can answer the casting questions, and maybe I'll let underclassmen talk more about budgets because Bill is a great producer as well. Casting, when I moved to New York, I did not know how to work with actors or anything, and now here I am pursuing a career in it. So SVA has a great, resource of Backstage, which is the main casting website that you sort of use, and they have a free code, so I can post as many listings as I want. And that's sort of how you connect with people as well. There's also a casting department within the film department that they sort of help you with as well, bring in actors. But yeah, a lot of just like posting your listing online and then sorting through, holding auditions, and like, I feel like I found my passion for casting, and I've sort of shared it with people, and there's been more of a casting director upcoming in the film department as well, so you can work with someone who will specialize in it, but it's a great resource to use Backstage.
Yeah, and in terms of like the budget, I guess, for productions, SVA provides a ton of resources, right? Like normally if you were to go on Backstage, you would have to pay for a code to even do a listing and keep it up. Through SVA, it's free. SVA provides different studios that can be converted into multiple different ways and like locations, right? But because this is a school that I kind of like to think of it almost as a trade school where we're just practicing, there's no tests, there's no real textbooks involved. Our textbooks are our budgets for the film. And you can make a film on $100 or you can make it on $1,000. It all depends where you're coming from and how thrifty you want to be. You can shoot at your friend's place that has an apartment and maybe they're an upperclassman, right? Like there are ways around it where the city has so many resources and opportunities where depending on your film and if you involve a producer or people, there are ways to get really, really crafty with it. So it can be about as big or as small as you want it to be.
And I think Leo can probably speak on this a little bit more, but SVA has all of the equipment you need, and you can just take it out, and it's free. So like, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but that makes a difference.
Yeah, I mean the biggest expense on a film set is usually a camera, I think, and SVA gives you that. So, and lenses, great lenses, amazing lights, you're chilling, Sorry.
You just got to feed everyone. But there's also like, I really feel like there's a lot, depending on your specialty, right? Like some production classes that you take, it's almost like a producing class in a lot of ways, right? Where you go up and you're talking to people and you're saying, okay, I have 10 mouths to feed, what do I do? There's like a fun little hack with Chipotle here. If you go and you're like, I'm a student, they sometimes give you stuff on a discount, you go to local businesses. It's really learning how to do this really small, but in the truest way in indie production.
So I apologize, but this is 3 questions. They're not relative to each other, but I know the 3 are very important. First is, as a directing concentrated student, how would the student possibly include animation as an elective or as a minor, or how could animation or VFX be incorporated in that concentration? That's one.
I mean,
I can speak on behalf because I have lived with an animator as a roommate, so I feel like that's the best way that I know about this. So the animation departments are in a different building than the film ones, but there is some crossover between majors. So if you wanted to have somebody animate for you, like my roommate previously animated a title sequence for a thesis film last year. So there is collaboration in that sense. If you yourself want to be an animator and a filmmaker, I'm sure there is a way to get involved in the animation department where you can go there and talk to them. I'm not sure about equipment or that crossover.
I would just add this, that animation and 3D special effects are tightly programmed. So they're kind of lockstep what those students have to take every year. So your best way of getting people to work with is meeting people. It's not a matter that, you know, in your second year, you're not going to become an animator. You know, it's a big deal. So if you want to be an animator, we have had some people who did amazing animation, including, you know, stop action and all sorts of things. But you're able to get the people you need.
And also, you know, as a director, you're coming up with a concept, and normally you would be working with an animator. So it's also, I think SVA builds it in terms of, like, if you want to make an animated film, it's following the process as it would in the real world. You're a director, you're going to pitch an idea to an animator, then you guys would collaborate together on making something.
I'm gonna say as well, there has happened before, like people have been making animated films in the film major for a while now. I know someone thesis is gonna be that, and I have a friend, a really close friend, that we're gonna be working all throughout summer because they want to have an animated film for second year. And we're writing finite animators and everything. Like, it's doable, it has been done, it's gonna be done again. It's just a matter of finding the people who want to do it and involving everything and making it happen, but it's very doable and it's very fun.
I'll also add before your second question, we have amazing facilities, so we have the latest applications. All students get Adobe software included with their education. We have state-of-the-art Mac computers for 24/7 access for kids to use. So if you want to get into using different applications than you're learning in your first year classes, we welcome that. We don't shy away from that. Same thing if you want to get into music, for example. We have music courses. If you want to be a composer or compose your own film, that happens. And many students compose their own films, and that goes on. At the same time, if you're not musically inclined and you want to hire a composer, there's plenty of places in New York to get composers and collaborate together. So I think the idea here is if you can't do it yourself, there's someone at SVA that can help you find that collaboration for poster design, for animation, for VFX. Or you can, do it yourself in certain cases for courses, or even take it upon yourself with the resources we have with our facilities to use. Good. Question number 2.
Yeah, thank you. No, you sold me already, so
Okay.
we're on our way.
Good.
The second thing is, this is more on the a film student who is deciding whether they want to live on campus or commute. So the question is, we're local, we're commuters, we're considering expenses, but we know shoots and out of class activity could run into the evening, possibly at night. How, as students from each year, which is great, each year, how has that developed or evolved as you've gone through your education, where you do have to probably take equal amount of off time or more time than class time? How has that evolved, and is that really a possibility to be a commuter and be a film student and stay sane, so to say?
For sure. I live in Queens. And I have to commute an hour every day to get into the city, to and from, But it's doable. I think SVA is built really smartly where you're taking one class per week. It's a long class, but it's once, right? So you don't have to come in. You build your own schedule after first year to best accommodate for you and your interests as well. So I don't have classes Friday. So I only come in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I also don't have any classes except one before 12. So I'm not dealing with the morning rush. And I also have a schedule that works for me and works for my interests and also works for my schedule in terms of productions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm originally from Jersey, so the commute was something doable, but I didn't necessarily want to do it because I wanted to make friends. And you still can as a commuter, of course, because you're on sets all the time, but I wanted to figure out living on my own and sets. And it was nice living on campus for the year that I did it, and now I still live in the city because you're also lugging equipment sometimes, so commuting that may be a hassle. I mean, and like there's sometimes overnight shoots, but it's also up to you what you want to take on and how you want to do that. If it's too much for you, you don't have to take on as many sets, or you can do them all and find a place to crash with a friend. I personally recommend I live on campus for at least a year, get used to it, get familiar. I mean, the freshman dorms, you'll probably see them later, are right next to the main building. So Bia can speak a little bit more on that, where you can literally do an overnight shoot or something, go sleep, and then go to class. And it's sort of like this grind that never ends. But I think commuting is also possible, like Bella said.
I live next door to my classes. I am gonna say that. Whatever happens, happens, but I'm in class in 5 minutes after I get out of bed. So that's a perk. And I understand wanting to live at home, like I'm an international student. If I could commute, I definitely would. But there is its perks. For example, for overnight shoots or everything like equipment, lugging and everything. Mainly, normally for sets, the point of like where we're gonna meet, the meeting point is usually the film building, which is next door for me. We literally share a wall. So like, it is convenient. I'm not gonna say it's not, but it's also a choice that the family has to do, that the student has to do. And as Bella said, like commuting is doable. I have a bunch of friends who commute, but I am gonna vote for the dorms if you want my input on that.
Great, thank you. And the last one is, as film students in general, or even just the program, is there a course or a class that could possibly have a student understand how a budget is developed for a film and how that's,
Oh, yes, there is.
because the main thing is you
Not
hear.
just one
you-
course.
Yeah, you hear the different budgets, but as a student, you want to understand what's behind the numbers. How is that number developed and how do you work off of that to produce a film?
Oh yeah. I mean, so my major, my, focus is directing, but I have been producing for all the grade levels, and I have a really strong focus and interest in pursuing that once I leave school. Every class, everyone teaches differently, but there are a lot of professors that when you go into your production class, they want to see the document, which is a budget. And it's a major part of the curriculum, This is an investment into a film, into a piece that will go into your reel, that's a piece of work. And everything makes sense in terms of like breaking it down. There's certain expenses, like food is unavoidable. If you're not taking out major upperclassmen equipment, which you guys wouldn't be for a couple of years, everything is free in terms of equipment, so you can put a 0 next to that. Locations, usually it's free unless you have something really special that you need. But all the line items, all the templates, and all the figuring it out happens a lot in class. But then there's a whole other side of it that's where collaboration comes in. That's where you would go and talk to somebody like myself or someone else in your year level who's interested in producing, that has like a focus and an interest in sorting out budgets, in sorting out where the finances go. And the beauty of it is also every film is structured completely different. There are certain things unavoidable, food, trying to pay your actors, even if it's just reimbursement for commute, and, props, let's say. But there's ways in which to make it super simple or super complex, and the school does provide a few producing classes. So you can learn how to budget on certain softwares that are industry standard and all that.
I guess the budget, what I meant was, is there a economical approach to the class where the real world budget establishment is what I was referring to?
What else is there but the real world?
Well, there would be travel expenses, things where if you're working off a template, off the real world approach, I'd like to know if as students, are you exposed to that template, so to say?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we come with like a full scope understanding of the largest of large budgets and how that's broken down to even indie. And something like, for example, my third year film, we shot in Boston, Massachusetts, right? So I had to manage, and I and a producing team went in and thought very logistically of like transpo, housing, gas, reimbursement, every little thing that you can think of. And because of SVA and because of the budget breakdowns in these classes and these thinkings, I'm getting real jobs, and I don't want to say real, but like actual paid opportunities in the producing field because I've been practicing with templates and building a whole thing.
I might also add, there's multiple producing classes, creative producing and line producing. Line producing is the one that's typically dealing with those budgets and the money aspect. And there's one right now that I'm taking as well with a great producer, and you're making a budget for, it's a short film, but she's like, there's no budget. Like, figure out these expenses and figure out how much you want to pay actors. You can use cranes, because it's not something we're actually doing, but you're financing it as if, you know, this is a big multi-million film. And it's really helpful. And she teaches you, you know, what each of these lines mean. And you go line by line on a budget. And there's so many lines in my Google sheet. But you're thinking about it meticulously. And like, they really do want you to understand what you're doing and where your investment and your money's going.
And every film is completely different, right? You can do a period piece that's notorious for being the most expensive thing, because every little thing that you see on screen is something that has to be very sourced, something exact for the time periods, the look, the feel, everything. Horror, it's a little bit cheaper. Get fake blood, get some scary costumes, go into the forest, call it a day. But, you know, everything is based off of the script that you develop and your professors help you throughout the whole thing.
No, thank you very much for all three responses and all everybody up there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You've certainly done your homework. Okay, any questions on that side?
One over here, right behind you.
Okay. Oh God. So my main question is like, how have you over the years been able to like experiment? Like, of course you're going to learn like the fundamentals, the basics, you know, how to do everything standard, but have you really been able to like experiment with something new and bold? Have you felt like you had gotten that opportunity to?
Yeah, I mean, this is something I think is the most exciting part about production classes and everything. You're not being told what type of film to make. You know, you have a requirement to fulfill and make a film and do all the work that pre-production is and post-production. But no professor is telling you, okay, now you have to write a love story. Now you have to do a horror film. I recently just produced a film that was completely experimental through a visual poem about hair, you know? And it was beautiful, but we were using all these different techniques, using different types of lighting, using water to emulate this like crazy mylar effect. And we are able as students to produce anything that we want, any type of film that we want. So the experimenting is really us getting the courage to write it down and saying, this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, I feel like you make pretty much, if you're directing or cinematographer, most students will make one film a year unless you choose otherwise. So you have 4 years to figure what you like to do, experiment, try something out, see what works. And this equipment is also given to you throughout the year. So if you want to try something out, you have the opportunity to, even if it's not an assignment. You know, you pretty much, you have that opportunity as long as you work with your professors and get their approval and they're on board with you. But you can experiment and do whatever you want, pretty much.
The limit is your imagination.
Question?
I wanted to ask, like, would you say the quality of your education as a filmmaker worth the price that you're paying? A little bit blunt, sorry.
Oh yeah, at least for me, and I'm sure Maura and I'm sure Leo and Bia all have different experiences with this, but I go and pitch my ideas and I've won festivals now, and I don't think I would have been able to do that if I didn't have some sort of structure and guidance with people who are active in the industry right now. On top of it, I'm getting jobs. You know, I'm a third year and I have a rate, which is wonderful. And I think for what you're getting, it's an investment into your future that you will get back. You know, you will leave the school having a rate, having a specialty, having multiple specialties. Most people have like 2 or 3 things that they're really, really good at. And you can leave and you can start going immediately on set, or go immediately to a producing room, or go immediately into a PA field. But like, you have already a foundation of knowledge that most people are learning on the job.
I would just like to add one thing. All of the alumni that we showed you in this little PowerPoint are all self-sufficient, all living in New York. They're making good livings, some of them very good livings, and it's possible. I mean, we are here to make sure that you get the skills that you want and that you would need to be hired.
I might also add, as I'm a 4th year and graduation is in like a month, I've been reflecting a lot back on film school and my time here. And first of all, I would not have been able to make a film each year without film school. I would not have had the equipment to do it. I would never have been able to afford that, and the crew and the friendships that I made along the way. But also, I'm going to plug this class because it's the best choice I ever made. It's called Career Strategies that the film department offers, taught by amazing producer Carrie Fulton, who also teaches the creative producing class that I spoke of earlier. And each week, Carrie really gets to know you, and she asks, what do you want to do? Who do you want to meet? And she brings people in, and they're in the industry, they're working. I mean, we had an AD from Killers of the Flower Moon and a bunch of people, and they come and they talk. There's like 2 guests a week, and you can pick their brain. And it's sort of just like schmoozing, asking questions. And my thing is casting, and I was like, I want to meet a casting director. I've done internships, but like, I want to meet, I said Avi Kaufman, New York City's biggest casting director. She won an Emmy for Succession. Avi, she came on Zoom because she's so busy, and Carrie was there with me, and she was like, you're going to hire Maura, right? You're going to hire her. And I am now an intern for Avi. And the fact that I felt like Carrie immediately got me that opportunity, I owe it to her. And I'm hoping, you know, when I graduate, I feel really good about where I am with SVA and the people that I met, thanks to this class.
I also think SVA, when you talk to people in the industry, you know, they know of this school and they know of the students that come out of it, right? I was at a after party for one of, I think it was Rob's film actually, and I was talking to a producer doing the same kind of gander pitch thing, and I said I'm a student at SVA, and they knew exactly what that was, and they knew the type of students that come out, and they're hardworking, they're knowledgeable, and they're industry ready.
Industry ready, like we know the set adequate. We learned that. That's not something like a lot of schools actually teach you, but it seems silly. But once you get to set, you gotta know what you gotta do. You know, like you gotta know the rules. You gotta know how to talk to people, what to tell people. And like I've been doing some sets outside of the school, and that's something like everyone always mentions. Like SVA knows how to run a set. We know how to get the people we need, and we know how to get the films done in the best way possible, in the less amount of work possible. And I feel like a lot of other schools don't, that's not something that it's taught, you know?
Yeah, I think we're really leading the charge in that, for sure, in terms of schools in New York. Not to talk crap about like NYU or something, but, you know, I think so. I mean, I've been on, you know, sets for NYFA, New York Film Academy, and, you know, NYU. And SVA sets are usually the most organized. And when people bring on SVA people to those sets, it usually runs better, so. Yeah.
It's something I even feel like as little as the lingo, you know, like you can know how to do a schedule, you can know movie magic, you can know, you know, Avid or X or whatever, but if someone tells you I'm going to 10-1 and you don't know what that means, and you're on a set and you've already learned and you've been on the set and you've graduated and all of these things, like that's a problem. But SVA day 1 freshman year, you're answering to your parents saying copy like you're on a radio, you know? So there's a lot of like nuance in it, and you learn a lot more being active. And like I said, there's no tests, there's no textbooks, it's all practical.
Question right back there?
Yeah.
Over here too? Sorry.
Over here.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
there's 2.
Okay, you can go, and then I'll go to you next.
Okay. Hi. I was curious if any of you were transfer students, and if so, if you could speak on that experience.
None of us are, but I do know a lot of transfer students. Is there a particular thing you're curious about as a transfer student? I mean, SVA is very set with like the first year you have like a core schedule and pretty much everyone chooses their block. So I'm pretty sure in that sense, like you're starting on page one and you're learning the same type of information as you would if you were a freshman.
But we definitely support transfer students. We have many students come through. Actually, they do fantastic because we work with them with our open curriculum to find what the skills they already have, what skills they still need. So can they skip part of first year, depending whether they went to college before, with their film school or something else, or there's certain humanities they can skip out on. And then again, a lot of the students are usually a little bit older, which also helps them out too. We have a great, third year Jackie, our third year student to transfer. She's fantastic. So yeah, it's a great community. And I think you fit right in. Like just because you're a transfer doesn't mean like, oh, you're some outsider. You're just like everybody else.
I would say we work very closely with transfers to make sure you get every credit that's coming to you. And we also will put you with teachers to judge, can you skip ahead? And what would be necessary? So we are very individualistic and very into supporting you.
Question over here. Yep.
So my question was, how's the learning process in these classes? Is it more teacher dependent, or did you have to develop these skills on your own through hands-on experience?
I think it depends on the class, to be honest. Like, for example, the production classes we were talking about, in the beginning, the professor is very hands-on and like he's there every step of the way. But like towards the end of the year, now that we're getting close to like finishing our first year films and everything, our professor Liz kind of steps away and let us run the show, because now we kind of know what we're doing and we know what we want to take. Because some classes are long, like the production class is like 4 hours long, and because it's enough time we shoot a short film every class. Every class we get out with a 5-minute film. And it's not like the best work possible, of course not, because we only have 4 hours, but we get in with a script, everyone has their job, we have the equipment, we have the actors, and unless we have a very specific question, like, oh, we really want to do like this type of light that we learned last week, or like, professor, I want to learn, like I saw this on YouTube and I want to try this, the professor is there to help, but we run the show. But of course, like we have some lectures type of classes where like film history, where we actually like sit down and have a conversation with the professor and he explains everything, and we have presentations and everything. So I think it really depends on what class you're taking.
And I also think as you develop and grow, it changes a lot, right? Like freshman year production class is very hands-on because they want you to get really, really, really comfortable with the equipment. Then second year, you have your focus, you're starting to deal with all of that, and then you're taking specialties and you're more figuring out your footing. Third year, you're getting prepped for thesis in a lot of ways, and the classes, like I'm in advanced directing class, and in that class, we're not practicing directing, we are talking about the nitty-gritty about directing. We are breaking down scripts. We are talking in problem solving, things that could go wrong on paper, something that's wrong, and then coming in with thoughts and ideas, this is how I want to make something.
And I'm just going to add, they are talking about all the, first, second, and third year experiences in those classes. And throughout those 3 years, you're typically getting very close with your professors, and it's really close relationships because they're small class sizes. When it comes to thesis year, whether you're specializing in directing, cinematography, or anything, you have a thesis advisor. And it's your choice who you want, whoever you've grown closest to. In that fourth year, you don't take a production class or anything. You have, whatever graduation requirements you haven't done. I only have 3 classes right now. One's on Zoom and 2 are in person. So it's really light. But my goal this year is to make my thesis. I have the whole year, and I've worked with my, advisor, and we've had meetings and whatnot rather than going to class, because this person is here for you to help get this film done so you can graduate. So, it's building a relationship and then using it to become, professional.
And there's a whole other side of it of like different professors work differently, right? So say you're someone who likes more theory, more talking it out, problem solving. There are professors that aid in that. Say you're someone that wants to just shoot with the camera and get really, really comfortable with the camera. There are professors that support that.
I would say there are no lecture courses in this department. Everything is hands-on. You have to do it. And the lecture courses that you will encounter are in art history and humanities. and you have to take a certain number of those. But we're not about teacher-centered learning. We're about student-centered learning and seeing that and learning by doing.
Yeah, it is what you make it, I think. So, let's go.
Question in the back? Okay.
I was just wondering, how much time would a freshman student spend working on their films versus someone else's films and different jobs on different projects?
That's a really like depends on the person type of question, but like I can talk about my experience. I shot my own film 2 weeks ago, the 2 weekends ago, and I've been working on the script since last October, started pre-production in January, and shot in March. So it's been a minute of working on it, and that was a choice that I made because I knew exactly how I wanted my script to be adapted. I know exactly the people that I wanted to be on set with me, and I knew like I know I probably won't have that much time, but I want it to be good, and I'm really happy with the results and everything. But at the same time, like that doesn't stop you from being other people's sets. This is the first weekend, I think, since January that I'm not on set. And that's a choice. Like when people ask you, you can say yes, but you also have to learn to say no. If you think like, this weekend I won't be on set because I want to be working on my own set, you got to do that choice. You got to make that choice. I knew I didn't have to make that choice because I started prepping early, which is a very important thing that you got to learn early on, like prep as early as you can, just so you're prepared. But it's all, I know some students that have been like working on their films since the first week of SVA because they knew what they wanted to do. And I also know the students are like, I have no idea what I want to do. I want to try everything. And they started working a few weeks ahead and they still got it done and it still looks amazing. So it's more like write your script or find someone to write your script and go for it.
By the way, each year has a time limit if it's going to show in our end of year shows for the different years. So you're not making huge films. That's a choice. And you can't make a film that's too long to fit into our schedule if, we call it student selects. The production classes vote on which they think are the best, most representative films. In thesis, when you have somebody who's just there for you, we really caution you not to make a long film because festivals would much rather take 2 or 3 short films than 1 half-hour film. So you learn kind of what will work for you, and it's practical. You know, you're dedicated to your ideas, but you're also dedicated to getting it done and having it work for you.
Okay, any last questions here? Yep.
Hi, are each of the students assigned a counselor to help them select their classes, to keep them on track, especially with their core classes, the core requirements?
Yes.
The answer is no. I mean, you have an academic advisor who will track you to make sure that you're, getting in everything in your distribution requirements and so on and so forth. We in the department and your teachers are very involved with you and trying to help you and steer you towards the kind of classes and the other teachers who will most work for you. So academic advising is kind of just about making sure you get the right credits, but we, your teachers, are here to make sure that it works for you and to help you get around sometimes and to help you go deeper.
Class registration is all done online and it shows you your next 4 years. So you see how much you have left and it's like a progress bar. You can see how close you are to graduating and different requirements. So it is very user-friendly that you can do it yourself, but there's also the academic advisor where I was like, I don't know if I took all the right things. Can you double check it? And he'll check it for you. So you do have someone, there for you if you need, but it's also what you want to do.
And again, the faculty do a great job focusing on trying to help you find the courses that are good for you. Also, your other classmates. So the classmates will know, hey, this is a great class I took, career strategies, take this class. I know you because we work together on projects. So there's definitely that community element here. We kind of all work together to find what's best for everybody. And we do, like, doesn't matter if you're a transfer, doesn't matter if you're a first-year kid, we find a way to kind of help you out. So we can all really succeed here.
I will say I only had to worry about that last month because first years we take the block type of situation where you only choose like I want block 1, block 2, block 4. The only thing that changes are the professors and the times, but the classes are the same because everyone needs the same like kind of credits to choose your major and everything in the following years. So you will have enough time to figure out what you want to do, how you want to do it, and meet enough people to recommend classes and help you through the process. But there is, like Maura said, there is someone like to double check, like, is this enough credits and everything? You have those resources.
You know what? We're going to have to kick you out. We hate to stop. Okay, back there, those people have been really trying. Okay, you and then you, okay?
Lightning round, yeah.
I was just trying to figure out, I understand that you learn a lot in terms of the technical skills, but I was trying to understand how it translates like professionally. So my question is, and this may be more so for you, I want to understand what sets like one student apart from another in terms of being successful professionally? Because they all seem very like assertive. Well, like I would be interested in what any of them have to say. So they have more than just the technical skills. So I just would like to know that. I'm trying to justify the cost.
Yeah.
Well, look, this is an art school. Why go to film
I can't
school?
hear you.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. This is an art school?
Yes.
And the reason to go to film school in an art school is because we know that it's about developing you as a human being, to have your voice, to have your vision, and to make sure that you're prepared for the world. And I think you can see in the different alums we have that they're very different from each other. They're all doing very different things, but they're all doing very well. So I think the important thing is that you develop yourself, and we'll help you do all of that.
I also really think in terms of like a professional setting, for example, this coming weekend, I got a gig where I'm working with Comedy Central. And so how did I get that job? I told them about SVA. They understood my skill set. And I'm coming from a producing thing. SVA doesn't necessarily have a producing focus, but I've been aided in a lot of ways in getting those classes and getting that information. And because of all of the sets, in working with set, you're working with actors, you're working with professionals, you're dealing with business owners, you're dealing with location managers, you are dealing with professional people. Even though you're a student, you don't live in the student bubble because this is New York City. You're learning as an indie filmmaker, and like one of the best advice I've ever gotten was, when you're an SVA student, yes, you're a student, but don't say that, you're a filmmaker. You're a filmmaker and you're going out in that world. So you very quickly learn the language, the decorum, and all of those skill sets. So then all of a sudden, by your third, fourth year, you're getting jobs that are competing with other industry professionals. And it's not a problem because you've seamlessly transitioned into that kind of more corporate-y space. But it's an art school. This is the arts. It's not like you're showing up in a suit for a job interview. You're showing up and you're proving that you have the knowledge that's on paper.
Thank you.
And you're working hard at it, because all these students have worked hard. I mean, Leo, in his first year, he was now he's a cinematography major, but he shot, what 10 films, 12 films first year? Right, so almost every weekend. What, more?
Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe more. He lost count. But the point is that he was out there. If you're not willing to go out and, like these students, go out and shoot and work, then it's less opportunity. You have to be proactive about this. You get the skills in class, but you have to also put the effort in yourself here. And it'll pay forward.
Got it. Thank you.
Last question.
Hi. I wanted to ask, how do you feel your school life balance is? Are you, super consumed 100% in school, and or do you guys hold any part-time jobs, or what is that like?
I'm someone who works like 5 part-time jobs and I'm on sets and everything. Like, New York City is expensive, so I do work jobs as well. It's up to you. Plugging dorming. I dormed. I met people outside my major, so it's, making friends there. But then also my film friends are some of my best friends. I hang out with them all the time, and being on set, I'm learning, I'm creating, but I'm also hanging out with my friends, and that's the fun of it. And it's up to you how many sets you want to be on. I definitely will be like, I can't take this set. I need to go bartend this weekend. It's that life balance, and that's a professional world. When you graduate, you're gonna have to do the same thing, where you're gonna have to figure out, do I want to work the set this weekend, or do I want to, have some extra cash? And it's not overwhelming. It's all up to you. And I feel like I have a great life balance where I can see my friends. There's parties or stuff. Like, it's an art school. It's in the city, but it's up to you how much fun you want to do and when you want to take a break and when you want to work.
And there's also like jobs at SVA. I work at SVA. You can freelance as well. It's all, we keep saying that, but it's like really true. SVA, much of your experience at SVA will be like your individual choices, how much you know yourself, how well you know what you can do, what you want to do, what you have the opportunity to do. So you're gonna be on set as much as you want to be on set. You're gonna be working as much as you want to be working, and you're gonna go be out and having fun as much as you want to. I love doing that. Everyone loves to do that.
Are we good, everybody?
Okay, so I think now there'll be some tours heading over to the east side to check out our facilities and our studios. So you'll meet some of our staff there as well. So looking forward to that.
Yes, thank you all for taking the time to speak. It was great hearing it from the admission stand too. If you do have any additional questions, there will be staff at the tour, so you can definitely speak there. So Ambiance, who is raising their hand all the way in the back, is your tour guide, and I will be following you all. We're gonna take the shuttle to the east side. But thank you all for joining us here today.
Thank you again.
And you can always get in touch with us.
Thank you so much.